Martin Hempel, occupation actuary, age 44. 1066 and all that. It's after 1 a.m. and Martin Hempel can't sleep. He's got a meeting in the morning that he's really nervous about. He has to present figures to the board, in effect justify his team's existence. There's no particular reason to think it won't go well, but you never know. Certainly Martin is well prepared. He's on top of the numbers. His slides have wit and impact. He's rehearsed his pitch until he's word perfect. He knows he's got a cast-iron case. But there's always that nagging doubt. Always the thought of all those people depending on him to do well. He would quite like to switch on the bedside light and read for a while, but that would wake his wife up. So he lies as still as possible, watching the curtains sway in the current of air through the open window. Although their bodies are not touching, he can feel Catherine's warmth, her weight on the mattress, hear her slow breathing. Occasionally she twitches in thrall to a dream, and Martin is filled with compassion for her, oddly moved by the thought that her secret dream life is so unknowable, that although they're only a few inches apart, it might as well be 10,000 miles and 10,000 years for all the help he can offer her at this moment. Martin has been here many times before. As he's got older, sleep has become increasingly hard-won. He knows that it can't be approached directly, that he has to sneak up on it, catch it unawares. He's learned that the best way to stop thinking about tomorrow is give himself something else to think about now. Set himself problems. Sometimes they're about a hypothetical future. A plague has wiped out 99.9% of the world's population. How can he ensure that his family survives? Does he have the necessary skills? Should they stay in the city or move to the country? He imagines them travelling southwards through Europe in search of warmth. For a while they could live by raiding deserted supermarkets, but how long would it be before fresh food ran out? Would he be able to hunt, and how? What would happen if anyone was ill or broke a leg? Would he be able to find the right drugs? What would it be like when they met other survivors? Would they band together, or would they remain as discrete family units? Would he be able to protect them against brigands? But sometimes the problems are historical. Martin wonders what he would have done if he'd been with Cortes on the Yucatan coast before he led his 600 men and handful of horses inland. What might have happened if he'd been Chamberlain's bag carrier at Munich? Was there any way that he could have got Michael Caine et al. Out of Rorke's Drift unscathed? Tonight, it's the Battle of Hastings. It's early in the morning of the 14th of October 1066, and Martin is a Saxon housecarl in Harold's army. The weather up here on Caldbeck Hill is clearing. Through the rising mist he can see William's army advancing. His head is filled with bad thoughts. He knows that so many things have gone wrong already, and that plenty more are about to go wrong. Imagine if he'd been able to get Harold's ear at this moment. For a start, Harold's army had only begun to arrive the previous day, after marching 260 miles from the Battle of Stamford Bridge, where it had defeated Harold Hardrada and Tostig, Harold's brother. There's a story, probably apocryphal, that Harold offered Tostig the whole of Northumbria and 1/3 of his kingdom in exchange for peace. But when asked what he would give to Hardrada, he replied, 7 feet of English soil. Martin would have advised him to be a little more diplomatic. He wonders if Harold's problem was that he simply couldn't resist a good one-liner, even if it cost him his kingdom. If they had made peace then, perhaps he and Tostig could have joined forces and driven William back into the sea. And what about Harold's decision to break with the Saxon tradition of sharing the booty? Instead, he'd ordered it all to be collected up for future use, which meant that the army's progress south was delayed by the stuff it had to bring with it: weapons, clothing, wagons, horses and stores. Why? And speaking of horses, there's no evidence the Saxons ever had any cavalry. Why not? The Norman cavalry, on the other hand, about 1/4 of William's total forces, was the most devastating war machine the world had ever seen. Martin wonders how things might have been different if Harold could have been convinced earlier in his career of the importance of cavalry in the development of total warfare. Supposing, instead of Norman cavalry cutting down Saxon infantry, the battle had been the clash of 2 mounted armies. And then there were Harold's tactics on the day. Hopeless. Why join battle the day after he'd arrived, with many of his troops still on their way, others having gone home or AWOL in London? Why didn't he wait? But even so, things went well for him until a number of units broke ranks and pursued the Normans who were feigning flight. Was this a stupid decision on Harold's part, or was it a lack of discipline in the ranks? Either way, the Normans turned on the now exposed Saxons and proceeded to massacre them. Martin wonders what it would have felt like to be there, nervously fingering the handle of your sword as the enemy calls out jeers and curses, as elite troops mounted on frothing stallions and armed with lances thunder up Caldbeck Hill towards you. He imagines the noise, the dust, the sweat, the smell and the fear. But at just the very moment before the two armies engage, before a single blow has been struck and everything is changed forever, Martin falls asleep. It's 2:17 a.m.